Everyone has a story or stories. Everyone has stories. I mean, we live long lives, hopefully. We have stories. This story is of the accidental painter.
Incidental painter.
Why is it the incidental painter?
Well, because you could say, oh, incidentally, I paint. Was it an accident? Well, yeah, it was accidental.
The first version of you is the pivotal version because that's the foundation. That's the person that I met outside of our geometry class or that I was attracted to outside of our geometry class that sticks with me, right? Because that's the you I fell in love with.
Mm-hmm.
The other version that came later on, we'll talk about in just a minute here, you became different because of something that happened to you. So you had some changes in your brain and it changed some of who you are as a person. And that's another version of you that I love. And I feel so fortunate that I still love that person. It could be different. It's different for everybody when they have something that affects their brain so much like that. But we met in our geometry class. I tried cheating off you. I mean, I wasn't really cheating off you. I just wanted you to look at me. I wanted you to look at my cleavage and everything and all my adorableness as a 19-year-old and you were 24. Mm-hmm. And all the other guys on the community college campus looked like kids and you look like, the real man that you were. Mm-hmm. I'm a United States Marine.
Yeah.
You'd only been out of the Marine Corps a couple of years when I met you. And so our love story was boom. It was explosive. We were together all the time. You proposed in 32 days. Nobody was a fan of us in our family. My family, of us getting married, we kept it secret for 6 months. We didn't really have allies there, so we saved our own money in a shoebox in my bedroom, cashed our paychecks to save our money and pay for a wedding. We loved our wedding. It was a different kind of wedding. It was on a Friday night when people weren't doing that kind of thing. And it was everything that was just a little bit different that we loved about it. And
right.
Because we've always been a little bit different than other couples, I think, or at least it feels that way to me. And so we got married and we never regretted a day of being married. We've had a lot of hard times over the years, financial issues and job changes, and we have 2 great kids, and we had trouble having children too. We lost some of our babies. So we weren't not aware of having a difficult time by the time you got sick in 1993. In late October 1993, you had encephalitis. We didn't see it coming, though I suppose anybody who looks back reflectively at things like that can say, oh, I saw signs of this and I saw signs of that. But you were very sick. You were on IV antibiotics at home. You had snow blindness, and we lived in a place, upstate New York, where there was so much snow, and we really didn't know what was going on. We didn't have an internet, so we weren't Dr. Googling ourselves or anything to figure out what was going on. We were having difficulties with the disability company, and we had to feed the kids and try to get money to come in and pay the bills, and Christmas coming. They were very, very stressful times, and that's my perspective, because I live that part of it as not just your spouse, but as the caregiver, as the mom for the kids. And you, in the meantime, were trying to not be so sick because you weren't even really sure what was happening to you. And once you had stabilized, you had to figure out something else to do. And you came upon a book, Drawing on the Right Side of Your Brain, when we were doing one of our bookstore visits, and you thought, I'll give this a try. And what I remember you doing a lot of is drawing your hand. Do you remember that?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. And you did it because you were trying to stimulate your brain to think a little differently, right?
Right, the other half of my brain, the right side, which for me was basically a foreigner.
Because you're very verbal, very more left brain. I'm much more right brain. It's amazing I'm even having this conversation as long as I am, and that it's pretty articulate, because I really live in my right brain a lot. And that was a new thing for you, to be trying to grow the right side of your brain so that you could do something productive every day. It was really very important for you to be productive.
Yeah, that's right.
And you have often said that your Marine Corps training and your mom were really influential on how you carried yourself through this.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
And you wanted the kids to come home and see you doing something
That's right.
and not sitting on the couch. So you had tried a couple of painting teachers. You got interested in painting after you were drawing for a while. And we found they didn't work out for whatever reason. They just wasn't the kind of classes you wanted. And you saw a little article in a newspaper about a gallery showing in Middletown. And Virginia's name was in there. And it also said something about painting lessons. So you discovered her there. And she said and agreed that she would work with you one-on-one. It was kind of exciting, wasn't it?
Oh, it was my good fortune. Yeah, it was very exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, she was really good. And it was a cool gallery. And she was trained at the Art Students League and what was the lineage of her training at the Art Students League?
A man named Frank Mason was what they call a lineage, who taught her and who taught Frank, etc., all the way back. And she was trained by Frank Mason. I think it was up in New Hampshire. They did summer seminars up there or something. So that was a great opportunity for me to learn from her.
And so when you were learning from her, I was working as a registrar in the hospital, not making very much money. We had the money coming in. We had figured out all the other money with the disability and Social Security disability and all that kind of stuff. And it was a rough road figuring all that stuff out. But we did figure it out, but we were really behind financially. And so to pay for painting lessons was expensive, though it seems ludicrous that I even think it's expensive now. Do you remember how much it was?
Yeah. I think it was $140 a month, maybe.
Yeah.
Like that.
And you went, when did you go? Twice a week?
Yeah, twice a week. I think it was Wednesdays and Sundays for 3 hours each time.
And what did you do on Sundays when you painted with her?
Well, it was almost exclusively out in the field, build plein air painting. Take the easels out in the field, find some place, and learn to do oil paintings of landscapes, and of which there are plenty upstate New York.
So it was freezing some days, and
you
went out in the cold, and
yeah, it was a horizontal sleet storm. And one thing she told me is you don't have to worry about it because oil and water don't mix.
That's very good. She would say that. Yeah. And somewhere along the line, and I lost my time frame too, but all that matters is that this happened while you were learning to paint with her. She called me on the phone one day, and a landline, of course, because nobody had cell phones then, right? And she called me and said, I can't work with Tom anymore. And I said, why? What do you mean? It was devastating to hear that. And she said, because he won't line his palette up correctly. And I said, well, what does that even mean? Because here I am, right? I'm trying to figure out this new life we have and who you are, by the way, and the two kids, trying to keep them on track. Going to school. I was going to school. I hadn't finished my bachelor's degree yet. And working. I mean, I just didn't really even understand what she was talking about. And she said, well, I tell him to put the primary colors in this way with the white, and he shows up and he never does it, and I just can't do this anymore. And I said, wait, don't give up on Tom. It was the most important thing that you were doing, and I just couldn't imagine what it would be for you if you didn't work through it. I said, please meet me. So her and I met at Dunkin' Donuts, and she told me, she drew it out, and she told me what she wanted. And I came home and I said to you, this is, Virginia said you have to learn this. And you said, no, I don't have to learn this. You didn't want to hear that you couldn't do something. And I said, well, she's not going to do it anymore if you don't learn it. So we did. We practiced it over and over and over and over and over again. And now you have such a beautiful palette. Mm. I mean, all these years later, it's just an evolution I've seen happen with your palette. And she just needed you to be able to work with her while she was working, and to be able to get to your palette in the same way she got to her palette. And a few weeks later, I was sitting there writing out the bills, and I thought, I can't even afford this. Like, where's the money coming from? And then like a light went off in my head and said, you can't afford to not pay for this. This is saving this guy's life. This is helping him redefine who he is. I get all teary when I talk about that. and your paintings are so beautiful, and they were then. There's some beautiful paintings that we're seeing now that you did in the 90s, and then some new paintings from since you had ALS, and you still fight through the disabilities from the encephalitis, but now you also have physical disabilities from ALS.
Yeah.
And I think the most important thing that I would want to hear if I'm listening to us talk about this is, what does it feel like for you when you're painting now?
I don't think of them as disabilities. I think of them as limitations or obstacles to get around. And what does it feel like? It doesn't feel like anything. It feels like there is no time. There is no, when it's going well, there's no time. There is no conscious thought. There's like desire and reaction to the canvas, what you're putting on the canvas, how you're doing it. There's methodology, and there's hopefully there's results that you can work with. And really, it doesn't feel like anything, actually. It just feels like, maybe you would call it, in the cosmic world, it's the flow. You just paint.
It's mesmerizing to watch you paint. It looks like butter sometimes. Like you're moving butter on, like you make the best sandwiches, or at least when you could make sandwiches, you made the best sandwiches with your knife. You favor palette knives. Although your brushwork has really come along in the last year.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's remarkable. And I want to thank you for sharing what goes on in your brain that you get out on a canvas. You've made the world a more beautiful place.
Oh my God.
All right, Tom Wood. Let's carry on.
Thank you, Mary.